Hey Rob,
Hello there, how you doing?
good. How are you?
Not too bad. Happy Monday.
Yeah. Let's see here. Just be aware we're recording this one.
Yeah,
Yeah. We can. Are you okay having your presentation recorded? Is that all
yeah,
right?
that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Hey,
Hi.
Robin.
Hey there. Are you looking to stop the recording, Ben?
Yeah. Morning, folks. Welcome to the August 18th Security Collab Space Weekly Meeting. Today we've got special guest Rob, who's going to give us a demo. So Rob, I will hand it to you.
All right. A little preamble first before we get to the demo. Um, FOSSA has been working on, we're big in both the SCA space and license compliance space, and have provided mostly license compliance services or subscriptions to OpenJS and a number of other open source projects. And so wanted to come here today to talk about something new that we're working on, which is all right, it's great that you can identify vulnerabilities, for example, in like the SCA space, but how can you actually help me fix them? We've been working on an agentic dependency updater to actually solve that problem. And so wanted to tell you a little bit more about that, how we got here, and then I'll show you a demo. And what we would like to do is we've been talking to a number of enterprises about, this use case inside, but also wanted to engage more open source stuff, both give back and help folks merge dependencies faster, get you some maintainer time back. I know that's, there's always a time crunch there. But then we would love to learn about like kind of OSS specific use cases in this. I think we have a pretty good handle on the enterprise side. So a little bit of give and take. I think it's a pretty symbiotic relationship. So I'll give you a little bit of background on how we got here. FOSSA wanted to just address this topic internally. We have our own software just like anybody else. We spend a lot of time on dependency updates. We have a lot of knowledge about dependency graphs and direct and transitives and all the stuff that comes along with that. So we thought we were well set up to do this. And so we started building out this agentic framework. It pretty rapidly started doing a better job than our human engineers. And so we said, there's actually something here. Then FOSSA kind of turned and got real serious about this and, we wanted to start developing it into a product. I actually joined FOSSA as part of an acquisition of my company that was called EdgeBit that was working on some dependency specific static analysis tech. Um, that hasn't been announced yet, but it's fine for this recording. That was kind of proof point one of FOSSA getting serious. Number two was building out a really big ground truth data set to evaluate ourselves against. And so we kind of used the static analysis as like a grounding point for facts about code bases so that the AI is not hallucinating all this stuff. And we use our agentic thing for its kind of it's detail-oriented nature, and it's really good at researching things. But we kind of ground it in the ground truth and the static analysis results. Anyways, building out that set, and we want to keep doing that as well. As open source projects do major migrations between things and write up migration guides and document breaking changes, we would love to keep adding that to our data sources. Um, I will admit this is JavaScript and TypeScript specific right now, which is why this audience is a really great fit for this. We'll expand to Java and Python and other stuff over time. It's that ground truth data set that takes a long time to actually build up, and we have that for JavaScript, TypeScript. So I'll pause there really quick. Does the premise make sense why we're here and kind of the background? Head nods. Sounds good.
Yeah,
All right.
Chris just joined. Chris, just quick summary. We have Rob from FOSSA here who's demoing a new product in development using agentic AI.
Yeah, this is an agentic dependency updater. So we want to, take either SCA scan results or license issues or anything that you have in your code base and actually help you with completed work items. I would say maybe an interesting thing for this audience is we've kind of found that these actually devolve into pretty complex engineering tasks, basically like the first minute you encounter one of these upgrades. Unless it's like a very minor, bump to a patch release or whatever, there's always, call site adaptation or a lot of research that needs to be done, and you just basically backlog this stuff forever because it's just too much work to even do all that work. So you don't even know what you don't know, and so you just backlog it. So we want to fix that.
Yeah, and you're starting with JavaScript, TypeScript, moving to other languages later. You've already offered it to a few of our projects as well. Um, so,
Correct.
which I've sent some emails out last week.
Yes. And so the other thing to know about where we're getting started is we are right now, because of our kind of the enterprises have done a lot of uh, effort in setting up Dependabot, Renovate, Sneak, all these updaters. We're actually piggybacking on those PRs right now. We'll move on to making our own PRs and based on our better analysis. But so I identified Appium, Webpack, jQuery as folks that are already using these updaters today. But if there's more, we're glad to get everybody involved. And for folks that don't have those tools set up, we'll be able to address those needs as well. So I want to show you just three kind of interesting categories of analysis that we can do. This is a prettier, it's a dev dependency, of course, and not a crazy bump here from 4.1 to 4.2. We saw this PR get posted. We did some automatic analysis and said, hey, not much to see here. There's no breaking changes. This is all good. You should merge this. So I'm sure we're all familiar with this. These are just the waste of time bumps. Something that's a little bit more interesting. This is a knock upgrade from 13 to 14. So depending on how they do semantic versioning, pretty major release. Depend about here, compatibility unknown, not very helpful. So I don't know what to do here, but FossaBot does. So we spent, 37 minutes thinking about this. Most of that's doing some of the static analysis and doing research. This is mostly related to dropping support for Node.js below 18. So we went through and, made sure on that safe breaking change here, we always want to show our homework for like what we actually did. This is how we validated that we're not using those deprecated versions of Node.js, and you've got references to the code and things like that. Um, and so again, this is safe to upgrade. You should go upgrade this. Something that's a little more exciting. This is a grouped update of a bunch of Amazon SDKs. So, versions to versions, but has things to do with this S3 client. And this one, we actually said, hey, there's actually some significant behavioral changes here that are going to affect the way that you use this dependency, not the way everybody uses this, but this is specific to the code base we're looking at. We use MinIO to mock out S3 and for some development use cases, and some of this checksumming that they changed is actually going to break our development flow. And so FossaBot understood that and then said, hey, we actually need to come up with a migration plan here. And what it did is actually go and turn off that new checksum calculation so that we didn't break our dev flow. So it made some commits here that, end up as part of this pull request, and then you can, go review and change that. Again, with all of the homework here for, our 8 fixed breaking changes, this is the ones that we addressed with these commits. And then there were 8 others that were just safe that we, don't need to care about. So that's like kind of the broad strokes of like we handle these really minor patch bumps, we find safe breaking changes, and then we can fix breaking changes. Fourth thing will be, hey, an engineer needs to also look at this. There's something about stylistically that how do you want to handle this? And we'll get better and better at those over time. So was there any questions on any of these PRs? Does it seem like it would be useful to the maintainers on all these projects? And our ideal case would be that you're just continually merging stuff so that you're never falling behind on dependencies. So it keeps the security posture just that much more fresh and close to the tip, so that you don't have to scramble when these big issues come up. So, but I'll pause there. Questions?
So
Rob, I'm curious,
I,
what are you doing the analysis with? Like, are you using ChatGPT on the back end? Are you using
Ah,
Anthropic? Where are you
yes.
pulling the stuff from?
So we use Anthropic and have an enterprise agreement with them, so there's no training on the data. Yeah, so we do our static analysis, crunch some things, see what the call sites we care about, and then we're sending over, snippets of code, not like the entire code base, obviously, over to Anthropic right now. And we use a variety of models for, depending on which step we're in, which is best suited for it.
And ideally, how do you see yourself working best with the technical steering committees of these projects?
I think we would love to like help speed up maintainers merging dependency updates to keep those projects more secure, keep their dependency trees fresh, pruned, as streamlined as they can be. And so I think what that looks like in the immediate term is just getting connected to the org and the GitHub org, and then turning on auto analyze so that they just get these analyses directly on dependabot PRs, hopefully help people merge those faster. And then over time, as we get more sophisticated, engaging with those more sophisticated updates, where we would, potentially roll up a bunch of dependency updates that are all not breaking into one PR, and, kind of things like that. But yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Like we said, it's been kind of outpacing our human engineers, and we've previously had things that were on the backlog, these major migrations that we actually found out look really major, but we're touching near a bunch of deprecated APIs and all these things. But then the bot says, "Hey, you're actually using these in forward compatible ways. There's nothing to worry about here." And so we pulled things off the backlog and merged it, whereas before it would just gone to the black hole and never gotten touched ever again. So I'm sure. These projects have those as well, and we'd love to help out with that. Yeah, and so all this is live and ready to go. And so it's just whoever's a GitHub admin needs to install the app, and then we're off to the races.
Any other like for folks that are looking to try this out, is there anything else in addition to that that they need to do, or anyone they need to reach out to, or they just really need to install the bot and that's it?
Yep. Our web app kind of walks you through installing the bot, so it's just logging into there. It's going to bump you over to GitHub to install it, and then you can configure which repos you want the auto analyze on. We can also test it out just by you can comment at the bot and get analysis kind of whenever as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Designed to be, other than the person that sets it up, everybody can just interact with it through GitHub. There's no, meet you right where you are in the way that the workflows are already set up, and all the if you need to have X number of people approve stuff before merging and all that stuff at all, none of that needs to change.
So I did send intros to the maintainers, introducing Rob and Kevin from FOSSA to Webpack, Appium, and ESLint, core maintainers. So I guess if there's anyone else, but if you join our Slack, sometimes that's the faster way to probably connect with people.
Okay, I did join the Slack. I haven't joined any or investigated what channels to
Okay.
best join. But I guess maybe my question for y'all is, how do you interact with those technical committees? How does this group?
You sort of sometimes meet them where they are. That's something we're always trying to do better. We sort of do a combination.
Mhm.
Slack seems to be more efficient than email,
Yeah,
opening issues sometimes. But yeah, just knowing that that you've sort of gone and spoken to this group is pretty helpful. Uh, Rafa and Ulysses are part of our Alpha Omega project, and they're trying to help the other projects as well. So this is good for them to know.
cool. Yeah, well, we're happy to kind of make it happen however folks want to be engaged with. And yeah, just with the ultimate goal of saving folks time so they can work on more important stuff.
Cool.
Have there been any other kind of security related projects that y'all have driven through in the past like 6 months, like in the beginning of this year? Anything? I'm just curious to get a sense of surface area and stuff like that.
What do you mean by security project?
Well, this is just like the group that's interested in security. I just like
Yeah.
how have you helped push these
We
projects
did
forward?
recently launched a CNA, so that's something that's being pushed out. We have some security compliance guidelines that we're pushing out. Those are the things that are sort of originating here and then
Yeah,
going into the projects. We also launched security training that
cool,
for us and our socket friends produced for us. But
cool.
those are kind of the big ones.
So it
Yeah,
sounds like each group kind of gets to do their own thing. You have some guidelines, but they're not like, prescriptive or in the way that they're mandatory. Um,
sort of. So
Mhm.
there's a caveat there, which
okay.
is um, this group works with the CPC, the Cross Project Council, which is the equivalent of the OpenJS TAC, right? So it's
Correct.
made up of various stakeholders from various projects. And that project does maintain some mandatory guidelines. The most important is when joining the foundation. So when projects join the foundation, there's a list of things that they have to do, right? They have to have specific licenses, they have to have code of conduct, and there are some security things in there. And I think one output from this group in the not too distant future will be making updates to those guidelines.
Gotcha.
So that's another area of influence over the projects.
Cool. Makes sense.
Any other comments, feedback for Rob?
Anything, because Ulysses also is on Express and Rafa on Node. Any project feedback on that?
Yeah, I think it's a useful tool because yeah, as you said before, like depend about half of the time is like even for trivial changes, you need to go to the change log and go by detail. Even if the CI is passing, it's like maybe there is something that can break people later on. So yeah, I think it's going to save some time. Yeah, depending on the perspective, I think there's also an open discussion going on artificial intelligence comments generated stuff on PRs and things like that, like in terms of how we should interact with this tooling. There's going to be like a new Collab space dedicated to that. That being said, because last week we had the demo in the Express TC working session regarding CodeRabbit, and it was an interesting demo. But also we have a lot of discussion around if these kind of comments are okay or not, depending on the community that are participating and the target and so on. So in terms of maintainer, as tool for maintainer, I think is useful because can save you time. I think it's not 100% like replacement for the human validation. There's going to be some validation, but I think the information there is useful to validate your own, understanding of the tooling and stuff, especially for the typical dev dependencies that you are not 100% aligned of what's going on. For example, my case with Prettier, when we use it, is like, most of the time I like the changes and I go ahead, right? But with this, we might go with a deeper detail, right? So yeah, I think it's a good approach and has a good potential for saving time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would like to see this in action on Express and Fast5 first before checking it on Node.js because the dependencies, the way we handle dependencies on Node.js is like different as they are not simple JavaScript projects, but you know, C++, we have tons of them.
Yeah, I'll admit we were I would love to be on Node.js, the project itself, but wanted to start small. But I know y'all do some tricky things in both of those projects.
So maybe I'll add Fastify to your mix if that's cool, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we actually use Fastify internally. It's pretty nice.
awesome.
Then if folks have questions for you, Rob, or for the project, what's the best way for them to reach out to you or to get help?
Yeah, reach out to me for all the above and I can get you connected with whoever needs to be looped in.
All right, cool. Well, you're more than welcome to stick around if you'd like for the rest of our working group call. And if not, then we will bid you adieu. But yeah, we've got a couple of the things that we want to cover today. So let's move on to incident response plan. So I think Ulysses,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do.
Okay, yeah, I have a small proposal. Okay, so here's the idea. I created a small PR, which is the 289. Oh, thank you, Ben. It's not like officially yet. I mean, it's not like a final version ready to review. It's more like a first iteration. So my idea was to join the meeting today, explain a little bit how this is going to work. Ideally, most of the discussion should happen async, so we can solve a lot of questions within the week. And then if something requires some like sync discussion or something in the meeting, then we can address this in a small 5 to 10 minutes spot in the meeting until we have the final version of this document. So just for give you some context, the idea of this incident response plan came some time ago when we faced some challenges with the GitHub UI and previous incident in the past that we, have several ways to discuss it. The idea here is more or less to try to materialize an idea of how the maintainers can reach out to the foundation in the way of I need some security support, and it's not related to CVEs or something like that. It's more related to GitHub UI chain, something that is completely outside of my area of influence, or something that happened to me as project or as an individual maintainer and I need support with, right? The idea here also is try to see within the foundation, like how we should address this kind of incidents, who should be in charge of these in terms of we should have a team or not. Also, what is the expectations in this in terms of solving problems? Because as these kind of problems can be super weird sometimes. So it's hard to say like, yeah, we cannot, I mean, we are not going to change the GitHub UI probably, right? But we can provide feedback to the right group, and also we can ensure you other things or just connect you to the right person on GitHub, for example. I mean, there's a lot of networking from our side that I think might be useful as a resource in this kind of situation. So that was more or less the idea. So in this PR, you can see that there is a lot of popcorn emojis. So all the popcorn emojis basically are super up to discussions. Everything here is not set as a stone at all. I included also a small mermaid diagram at the bottom that might help you guide on the process a little bit and also motivate Ben to help me with this a little bit. I know Ben is a great fan of mermaid graphics, so yeah. This is the idea. Basically, if we want to spend some time today or something like that, probably working on the incidents categories is the best option to define like what we should consider in a scope or not for this kind of incident response plan. Probably something that we want to move outside is obviously anything related to vulnerabilities in the level of CVEs, security reporting, stuff like that, because that should be done on the project, or worst case scenarios should be escalated to the CNA, right? So that's not something expected from this group. That also reduce a lot the pressure from the group in terms of, respond on time and things like that, right? So categories that I thought that might be interesting. Any platform change that might introduce a risk to a project, that can be on GitHub, that can be on NPM, that can be whatever, right? Any account access issue that might be tricky to solve, like for example, NPM account takeover, stuff like that, that might be tricky to escalate just on support. So we can just, try to speed up on the foundation. Any kind of weird supply chain attack that might happen to one of the projects, that because you got polluted by other random library that you depend on, stuff like that, that become a complex situation, this kind of XSET kind of attacks, things like that, on how to handle these kind of things. And obviously any kind of, legal stuff, for example, that might be in terms of licenses, in terms of things like that, that might be a little bit tricky. And yeah, I don't know. That was more or less the first brainstorming from my own, right? So yeah, this is super open to discussion, to include categories, to remove categories, and I will shut up and let you start with some feedback and ideas. If you prefer sync, let's go now. If you prefer sync, also the PR will be open for a while. So.
Yeah, is there anything folks want to discuss while we're together? Or do folks want some time to read this at their leisure, and then we can review?
I left a comment in the request, but just wondering if we could merge the Node.js one and the Fast5 one into this to make it's like generic, so we could send it to other projects as well. But yeah, this is I think this is something we should do asynchronously, the discussion, because it requires more time to evaluate and see if that's applicable or not.
Yeah, I think that go to a sync discussion, because what we have on Fastify Node, I think it's more related to CVEs and security vulnerabilities directly on the source code and stuff like that. So that maybe we should have something, definitely like a template or something that the people can use. But the aim of this response plan is not to cover CVs. It's going to be like more on whatever is not a CV, but also can be a security incident. So maybe we can just point to this document on these security policies later on the project security policies later on. But yeah, we can continue discussing this, I think 100%.
Yeah, I think it's a really good draft. I think that I like the way of marking things for discussion with popcorn, because there's some important questions in here, right? Which is like, who should be involved in vetting these? Who are the potential folks that could be assigned as the I forgot the term, but like the coordinator? So yeah, but I think this is a really good start, and I think it's very much on the right track of what we need. So yeah, this is good work. So I think Ulysses, just to reiterate, so we want to try and look at this async this week, and then we can use some time in the next weekly meeting if we need to maybe resolve a couple outstanding issues or anything that needs in-person discussion.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Just one minor thing as well. There is like a placeholder for stuff that I use capital letter, like for example, the team or the report, until we have a proper name, right?
Just one quick comment, synchronously here. Ben kind of struck me with it or came to me as Ben mentioned, the assignee. You probably need a RACI chart or something like that in this that dictates the roles and responsibilities and who's accountable, consulted, informed, that kind of thing. I think just looking through it real quick, there are defined roles, and that'd probably be a helpful intro matter to have in there that kind of outlines that too. I'm happy to make that comment. I was just thinking it off the top of my head as Ben mentioned that.
Yeah, Steve, it sounds like you might have experience with defining roles for a security incident response plan. So if you have anything that you feel free copy pasting in there would be useful.
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anything else related to the response plan?
I think Robin was muted and tried to speak.
Just unmuting. I also think maybe linking, our NPM and GitHub continuity plan as well, because that could be relevant here.
That's a good one. Yeah, and in general, continuity if we have other platforms and other stuff, that might be also something to take in account. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have minimal VDP. I forgot if that was Ulysses or Raphael.
Sorry, can you repeat the issue?
Oh, it was the next topic we have is minimal VDP.
Okay. No, that's not me. I think.
Ulysses, was this one you? This is a mental note that now for agenda items, I need to have names so I know who to call on.
Yeah, I think
I think that was the one from Rude, right?
Yeah, and the idea from us as a group was to go with a minimum over the minimum template version, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, probably we should designate a champion for this. I'm happy to volunteer, unless Rafael want to.
Can someone send me? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ulysses. We need someone to take over the reins on this one. I do think it is something that we should do. I think what we have is probably it's everything, right? And I think it might be hard. And so I think this is a good idea. Chris?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about this back when Rudd was first crafting this, and I think he did really good work. He did really good work, I should say, I think. But in the way of what is minimal, is quite what he's got in there is minimal, is quite extensive, right? So I can take a stab at this one. Really, you want something that covers, how do people submit vulnerabilities to a project, whether that's, a reporting email address or using GitHub, private vulnerability reporting feature. And just something really easy that a maintainer that doesn't already have a policy or has something that maybe doesn't even go that far can at least quickly review and adopt, and doesn't contain the scary legal things like the safe harbor stuff, and all of that. So I can take a stab at this. We crafted something very minimal for TC39. Of course, language specifications are very different than actual projects, but I think we can use some of the feedback that we got for that, because we did have quite a lot of for something that has so few words. We spent a significant amount of time in iteration review, so I can take a stab at that. So Ben, you wanted to put names to things. You can put my name on that, and I'll try to find some time this week to knock that out, and we can
That'd be
review.
great. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I added your name on the agenda, but yeah, thank you for volunteering.
Sure.
Okay.
And I think just to close the loop, I think the other guides that we have, that Rudd did, the recommended policy and the minimal policy, I think those have a lot of great content, and we can continue to recommend those to projects. But maybe we should spend some time at some point in the not too distant future to just review the content of those and make sure that we still feel like everything in there is good, or if there's something we want to change. And then, I'm reminded of like the I forget what we called them, but this, the security guidance that we gave for projects had like sort of different levels, right? Like the recommended versus expected or suggest. I forget the exact terms that were used, but we could sort of do the same thing with the security policy stuff, where you have, whether you call it a t-shirt size or whatever, like here's what you should minimally have, then consider this thing, which includes more information, and then you get into things like, documenting your threat model so that if there's like a category of vulnerabilities that the project does not consider vulnerabilities, therefore don't report them, and that sort of guidance for more like advanced level or more mature projects.
Yeah, I think that's good feedback. Okay. All right, so anything else on the minimal BDP before we move on to CPC? Okay, so I mentioned this in our previous conversation, which is that one of the things that this group can influence, right, is the CPC onboarding requirements for new projects. And so we've been talking about that a little bit. So I think there's two items in here. I'm just opening them up locally so I know what they are. I think, Raphael, maybe these are your topics.
Yes. You mean the media, right?
Yeah, there's two in here that are linked.
Yeah.
One is that, and then the other is security
The
policy.
minimal, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are topics that we have discussed in the last of Omega Sync. As I've mentioned there, we created the security help channel. We sent messages through email to all the OpenJS projects to join that channel, and in case they need some help to ping me or Ulysses. But I would like I feel that we could create some media, or either the OpenJS Foundation blog post to mention that again, just to make sure that the OpenJS projects, they are aware that they can ask for help whenever they want. So just to make sure that we are delivering the right message to all of them. So I wrote this issue uh, just to have that on mind whenever we want to publicize about it.
So yeah, I want to crisp this up a little bit because I think it's important is that and Raphael and Ulysses, correct me here where needed, but we meet every week, and oftentimes we're talking about how difficult it is, or how we don't hear from projects that because we have resources that can help them, but when we reach out to projects, oftentimes we don't hear back, and so it's a little bit of a struggle here, and we kind of are assuming that they do need our help. So this is really about making sure that they know and that they have a clear path to working with us or requesting help from us or getting involved. Ulysses?
Yeah, something that happened from last week is there was an official announcement finally in the GitHub blog post about the participation of some of the projects on the foundation on the I think the technical name was GitHub Secure Open Source Fund, which was like 3 weeks intense learning and stuff. We learned a lot there, and probably we can bring a lot of topics from what we have learned there to the onboarding process of new projects. So probably we can, reshape a little bit requirements and stuff based on what we have learned there and so on. And we can also bring Greg into the discussion, one of the people from the GitHub side running the program. So that might be a good option, and try to bring some resources, because also one of the ideas they have on this program was try to, like prepare one generation of maintainers so we can, just expand this to other maintainers and try to make it more digestible, right? So we can try to propagate and evangelize this idea a little bit more to others. So yeah, we can see how to adapt this to our ecosystem, but that might be a good option.
Yeah, I like that train the trainer idea, essentially. I think that's good. Um, yeah, I don't know if just a general blog is the right idea, but again, sometimes again we hit them where they are, whether they're on Discord like Electron or what have you. I still feel like our town hall meetings have had the best attendance because we're actually throwing something on their calendar. So we could do that. I think when Rudd tried it, he did too many and it gave too many options. I think we just need to have one and then some information go out. That might be a good way to get the information. So, but yeah, I think if we end up doing like a blog to the community, you're going to have lots of JavaScript projects who are not OpenJS hosted projects come to you for help, which is not a bad thing if we point them to resources. So maybe we do something more along that lines just to push it out to the broader audience. We do have a security page on OpenJS now. It probably needs to be updated as well, but that's another spot we can drive people to.
Yeah, I think the blog post might be also super helpful in order to, let the project knows what they can expect in terms of support, because there are too many topics in different areas, right? Not so also I'm starting to trying to reach like privately to maintainers that I have already a previous relationship because they contributed to the project or whatever. So but having like a blog post, something that can be
Okay.
less abrasive, like a private message with like
Let's
tons of
yeah.
can be good.
Okay, let's schedule time with Kylie to make that happen.
Yep.
Okay. Go.
Oh, I had an idea.
Yeah.
We could think about doing a quarterly town hall. So something a little bit more regular.
Yeah.
And that would also be very good to include in a blog post as well. So I think if we have enough
I
content
like
for
that.
that,
Yeah.
but it could be a thing where we are bringing things to the projects. We could update them on what we've been doing, that kind of thing, and also have maybe some open time in the town hall for folks to like put forward their problems that they're seeing or things that they might need help with, and that kind of thing. But I like having something regular. But yeah, I'm open for feedback on
I
that.
love that idea.
So we could do, I mean, I think if we have an incident, I mean, there's some really interesting stuff here that we could review. Like if we have an incident response plan, if we've got this minimal VDP, that alone, I think is enough for a town hall. And then if there's like a section about the GitHub Secure Open Source Fund and sort of what we learned there, those are just some things that just we discussed today. That's a really good idea. So maybe we could target like end of September for the first one. I only say that because end of August is now and is vacation time, and then end of September would give us enough time to prep. Robin, does that seem?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And then actually I can use that content for my JSConf opening keynote too.
Yeah,
Yay.
with some photos of all the lovely faces that we have here.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, we'll work towards an end of
Yes.
September town hall. Okay. Hey, Rick.
Figured out my camera. Sorry, it's been a bit. Had to fix it.
Always good to see you. Okay, that all makes sense. And then so the last thing on here was the I kind of split up these two things because we have the topic of requesting help from this group and then working with the CPC on updating onboarding requirements. I think those are two different things, so I just split this up. So Raphael, this is the minimum set of security policies as part of OpenJS onboarding. So right now, if I recall correctly, our onboarding requirement is that there must be a security policy. I don't think it goes into much more depth than that. And so I think the idea here is to
Yes.
be a little bit more verbose on what we're asking projects to do. So yeah, Raphael, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we have discussed that in the last meeting, that we should define just a minimal secured MD for the projects that goes onboarded to the OpenJS Foundation. And then I have discussed that with Ulysses in the Command Center repository, and this is the result we came up. I said it's in the issue, but I will send in the chat. And we just need like an approval or more review from the team. And once approved, we can organize how to make it global and how to apply that retroactively to other projects that doesn't have one.
Yeah, I think that's great. Once this group is ready, the way that we would move this forward would be, yeah, it would be a PR against the CPC documentation. I think it's the project onboarding, and it needs to have the agenda label so that it can be discussed in the next CPC call where that happens. So that's the way that works. The other point here is that how to ensure that projects that have already been onboarded keep up to date. That is something the CPC is working on now and does not have a solution for. So it's timely, I would say. And this is a really good example of like, hey, we've updated our security policies based on new information, new best practices, all this great stuff. Projects that were onboarded 5 years ago, right? There might be some work that needs to be done. So how do we do that? So that's a really good discussion.
Yeah, I think we could see how we can organize that in the Command Center repository, because I believe we could set up some automation to send messages or to receive feedbacks from them. But yeah, that's a second step of this idea. So I wait for until the end of this day. If any of you have any suggestion to this document, so I will open the request, and then if you want to review that, that would be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Raphael. Okay. Any other business, any other walk-on topics or anything that folks want to discuss while we are here? Just looking at the chat real quick to see if there's anything. Ulysses?
Yeah, I think something that my worth as part of the onboarding, also because it's the peak of motivation of the people when they join. Maybe is to give them some context. Some content related to how to issue CVEs and stuff like that, especially using the CNA of the foundation. Because maybe when they join the foundation, they never did a CV before, so there's like a lot of pragmatical questions on how that works, how to use the advisories, these kind of things. So maybe worth to, have something ready to them in order of this is the guide on how you solve this, or, just as part of the onboarding, do a small, buddy onboarding. So we can have some people who has experience on this that can just, go with the project like a half an hour and explaining everything in detail to see how their technical level and skills are on this topic. So basically, they are from that moment on, it's more easy for them to issue CVs and stuff.
That's a really interesting idea. It made me think of this idea. We have this long list of things that we do for project onboarding, right? Which is like have a security policy, make sure your licenses are up to date, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not sure, remember, maybe Robin, you can help with this one. I'm not sure how much we have in terms of like, welcome to the foundation. Here's a checklist of things that are available to you now, right? Like here's the security collab space meets here, the CPC meets here. If you have infrastructure requests, you can do this. If you need to file a CLA, you can do this. I think we kind of know what all that stuff is, but I don't know if we formally like present that in some way or to the project so that they're aware of like, here's all the stuff that you now have available to you.
Not formally, usually when it's often like a CPC chair and I will meet with a prospective project and sort of walk through some of those things, but it's not like packaged up into a welcome packet.
Yeah, so it might be something that we can sort of maintain as just benefits of joining the foundation, right?
Yeah, and we do have a slide that lists a number of things. Yeah, I have a couple of slides.
Okay, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll work on that one. Okay, other topics that folks have?
A small one, maybe not for the onboarding, maybe yes. As we have been discussing today about licenses because of the FOSA demo, so maybe worth also as part of the onboarding to ensure that the project have done some kind of machine-driven check on the dependencies and the dependencies they have on their own because sometimes it might happen, like, for example, if you're an MAT project, but you have some AGPL or whatever as a sub dependency, then you have some compliance problems on your licenses. And that's a hard step to do as a maintainer because, having a clear license for your own project is something easy to review, but knowing your own dependencies in that leap of compliance might be a little bit tricky and can anticipate us a lot of issues in the future. But that's a tricky thing because not so sure also how well the project do that currently. So yeah.
Yeah, so we had an open issue probably 5 years ago. I think Michael Dawson had opened it about license scanning, and we had worked with the LF team, and that was supposedly under development, but I know things have changed. So again, FOSSA does do a lot of work with CNCF. So if that's the path, we want to take, but I think we found it was something we couldn't manage 5 years ago, but maybe we can today. Yeah.
Okay. Last call for any other topics. Okay. Well, always good to see you all. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. And if I don't talk with you, I'll see you next week. Bye,
See you
folks.
later. Bye.
Hi, everybody.